Breaking news. Putin ignores war and rebellion to run for fifth term. Just over a month ago, the entire world watched in disbelief as Russia's Wagner mercenaries drove their tanks toward Moscow. Vladimir Putin's precarious position has never been more apparent than now, what with the impasse in Ukraine, international sanctions, and domestic discontent. Putin is currently positioning himself to win a fifth term in office in March 2024 elections, with Wagner chief Yevgeny Prigozhin at a distance and the president's powers bolstered by parliament. Putin uses the ruble and the ballot box to restore his flawed authority in Russia. This is crucial. Reading. Russia's space partnership with China takes a hit after its failed moon mission. Read the latest updates on the Russian invasion of Ukraine in our recap. Putin is expected to win handily, but the Kremlin still sees the election as a chance to demonstrate that he is in command of Europe's largest conflict since World War II and has the backing of the people. In anticipation, Kremlin aides made rare criticisms of the central bank and demanded it prevent further erosion of living standards, leading to last week's emergency interest rate hike to defend the ruble. The economy is showing remarkable resilience in the face of international sanctions, expanding again after contracting for an entire year. The economy is expected to recover to pre-war levels by the end of next year, say economists. While military spending plays a role, Putin's generous social programs for Russia's poorest citizens are a major factor. Putin is not impregnable, despite the fact that his personal approval rating was 82% in July. His strongman image was damaged by his handling of the mutiny, but the political and business elite are still supporting him for the time being. There is growing dissatisfaction with the way the war is being conducted by the highest military officials. Ukraine has increased its drone attacks on Russian territory, resulting in rising casualties and a dangerous escalation of the conflict. NATO members previously reluctant to send advanced weaponry to Kyiv are now delivering F-16 fighter jets. Putin runs the risk of this happening as the invasion enters its 19th month. This is the biggest test yet for President Xi Jinping's effort to wean China off the debt-fueled growth model of his predecessors. Consumer confidence is low, exports are weak, prices are dropping, and more than a fifth of working-age Americans are without jobs. The economy is down to $18 trillion. The key interest rate that guides mortgages in China was left unchanged by the country's banks, a surprising move that has sown confusion about the country's strategy for reversing the property slump. Donald Trump, the former president of the United States, plans to avoid Republican primary debates after polls showed him with legendary leads over his rivals. With this announcement on his Truth Social platform, he appears to be setting his sights on a 2020 presidential run against Vice President Joe Biden. This week in Johannesburg, the BRICS bloc will meet to discuss how to challenge the global order dominated by wealthy nations. At their summit, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa will discuss ways to speed up the transition away from the US dollar as the standard reserve currency and recruit new members to increase the group's global clout. The top Bloomberg viewpoints. The BRICS are not a bloc or a rival to the West. Melanie Verwoerd rebuts Andreas Kluth's prediction that 2024 will spell the end of South Africa's ANC. Despite Noah Feldman's claims, Trump can still legally seek election. Bernardo Arévalo, an opponent of corruption, won a resounding victory in Guatemala's presidential election. He campaigned on a platform of rooting out the systemic corruption that he claims is responsible for keeping the Central American country in poverty. Arévalo, a 64-year-old sociologist and ex-diplomat, refused to drop out of the race despite numerous attempts to have his party disqualified. Sandra Torres, his opponent and a former First Lady, has not yet admitted defeat. Resources for explanation. Keeping up with the shifting sands of the US-Iran conflict. Understanding the emergence of novel COVID strains. Progress made in tracking the tropical storm New Direction for Hillary. Sretha Thavisin, a former property tycoon and political newcomer, hopes to win tomorrow's vote and become Thailand's next prime minister, which could end the country's political deadlock of recent months. Sretha's fate is in the hands of the military-appointed Senate, despite the support of a coalition of populist and conservative parties.